Hi, this is Chris with Nightfall Audiobooks, and I have for you something a bit different today. Thrift Store Horror is my collaborator on the channel. I use them for resources on what to read next and how to get books that I'm missing. And in some cases, I'm tracking down the wrong book entirely because it's the UK release and I already have the United States release. Anyway, recommendation was 13 Tales of Horror by 13 Masters of Horror. This is a compilation novel. It's all short stories. I have not read this before, but it came highly recommended by Thrift Store Horror. So we have stories by R.L. Stine, Caroline B. Cooney, Christopher Pike, D.E. Atkins, A. Bates, J. Bennett, Carol Ellis, Diane Ho, Lael Littke, Sinclair Smith, J.B. Stamper, Ellen Emerson White, and Patricia Windsor. Half of these authors have worked with Scholastic and Point Horror in the past. This should be pretty fun. And we all know about R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike, right? Believe it or not, I haven't really read any Diane Ho, or Sinclair Smith, or Caroline B. Cooney, but I do have a Cooney novel in the works, so stay tuned for that. I will be reading one story from this compilation and then publishing that as its own episode. I'm going to use this book like glue. If there's any holes or gaps or weirdness going on in my schedule, I'll be using one of these stories to fill that void. Just something fun to do. So let's begin. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can write me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I am also on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the join button to show your support. I also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/nightfallaudiobooks. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me narrate them a story. Thank you very much for listening, and let's begin. Welcome to a Nightfall Audiobooks production of Deathflash by A. Bates. It couldn't get you in the light. It couldn't get you if you held completely still. It couldn't get you if you were totally covered up, including your head. Marissa pulled a sheet over her head. I don't think it will work this time, she thought. She remembered the absolute, overwhelming terror she'd felt as a child, waking suddenly from a bad dream, a terror so raw and immediate it could only be caused by something waiting in the darkness. Waiting for her. If she moved, it would get her. If she didn't move, she couldn't cover her head, and it would get her anyway. She had recognized the dilemma even as a child, a dilemma so impossible and so horrible that she'd been certain she would die of fear and indecision whether it got her or not. Now she shuddered. In the still, hot darkness, she could almost hear the sweat as it rolled across her face. Only this isn't a nightmare, she told herself starkly. This is real. The rules only work for nightmares. It's going to get me. Unless I get it first. The idea startled her, and she sat up beneath the sheet, careful to keep herself fully covered. If I could get it first, how could I? The thought of stalking it made her laugh, though she immediately wished she hadn't. The laugh sounded forced, hollow, too loud for the fragile illusion of safety she'd carried beneath her sheet. She thought back to when she'd first seen it, trying to see the events in a new light, to find some kind of weakness in it, perhaps, a weakness she might use to fight it. She left the high school late that Thursday because she stopped for help with her math. She had to pick up her little brother at the junior high and take him to soccer practice at the Y, so she'd taken the back roads, the shortest way. The back roads led through the old part of town, the crumbling buildings, the trash-strewn alleys, boarded windows, and people who always looked pinched and cold. 3rd Street seemed even darker than the others when she turned onto it, dark as if night had fallen early, or as if daylight couldn't quite penetrate the grime. Dusk hung like a mist. Marissa leaned forward, peering intently through the windshield. Alley entrances loomed suddenly, stark and eerie in the dimness, and it was difficult to see where gutters left off and sidewalks began. She drove carefully but quickly, eager to leave the area and its mist behind. Headlights would help, she thought, reaching for the switch. From the corner of her eye, she caught the streak of motion and turned her head in time to see 2 cats leaping from an alley, yowling, leaping as if propelled, straight in front of the car. The thump was sickening. Marissa knew she hit at least one of the cats. Her legs shook as she braked. Her hands shook as she turned off the engine. "Oh, no, no, no," she chanted, pleading. "No, I didn't mean—" She jumped from the car, begging the cats to be okay, but at least one of them was not okay. A huge black and white tom was howling in pain, rolling and thrashing, aiming itself in a mindless, crippled scurry away from the alley. The other cat was nowhere to be seen. Lie still. Why won't you lie still? Marissa thought helplessly. She glanced unwillingly at the alley, almost expecting something to emerge, something the cat seemed determined to get away from, as it thrashed toward a dark doorway. Sobbing quietly, she started to follow. A vet, she thought. If he'll hold still, I can catch him, take him to a vet. And then it came, slipping silently from the alley behind the cat. A small it, shadowy and vague, thin and gray, but with a pale face that was avid with hunger and intent on the cat. Its intention was clear. On all fours, it stalked the cat, creeping, focused. Its intensity that of a cat itself, stalking a prey of its own. Horrified, Marissa looked for something, a stick or rock, thinking vaguely of defense for herself or the cat or both, knowing even as she grubbed through the piles of trash that the shadowy it would not be stopped by one person, with or without a stick or rock. She knelt, scrabbling through newspaper, grimy rags, rotten bits of filth, her mouth dry and her hands shaking as she hurried, needing a weapon even if it was useless. She glanced up. It had almost reached the cat, its concentration so intense that it had not even noticed her. Then she heard it hiss. It was a hiss of glee, of anticipation, and it iced her blood. Her heart beat frantically, trying to force the cold fluid through her veins. She wanted to shout, "No, I hurt him, and I will save him. I will take him to a vet, and he will live." But the fear it cast with its hiss had chilled her speech, had frozen her tongue and her words. It was the same fear she'd felt alone in the dark when she was a child. She felt not only chilled, but marked somehow, as if the ice inside made her more transparent, more shadowy, and more vague like it was. Dumbly she watched. They were in profile to her, the dying cat and it. The cat spasmed, and its face glowed in anticipation. Marissa could have sworn it was humming to the animal in a crooning hiss, a kind of grotesque lullaby, and she felt clogged, choking with horror, with the cat's pain that she had caused, with the shifting, shadowy itness. It waited motionless. The cat spasmed again, then lay still. It hovered, its face rapt. There was a sudden small flash of light, a tiny yet brilliant cat-shaped glow that seemed to be released from the animal as it died. Then it pounced, mouth open, swallowing the light. Marissa's stomach heaved. Horrible, she thought. That was horrible. Sudden grayness replaced the icy hold she had felt, and she fell forward in a faint, waking face down in a pile of trash. She looked, but it was gone. The cat's body lay empty where it had died. The icy shadow it cast still hung over the alley, but the strength of it was less immediate. She could think again. Marissa remembered her brother. She glanced at her watch, unable to believe that barely 15 minutes had passed since she'd run over the cat. She wanted to bury it, but she couldn't even bring herself to touch it. Finally, she upended a trash bin to cover the shrunken body and gave a small scream as the other cat, an orange cat, jumped out from beneath the bin. Without pausing to think, she grabbed it, ignoring its struggles to escape, as she placed the bin over the other dead cat. I can't leave you here, she thought. She ran to her car, wrapped the orange cat in her jacket, and leaped into the driver's seat, squealing her tires in her haste to get away. She felt soiled, contaminated, marked by something worse than filth. Her knees felt jellowed, and it was an effort to move her foot from the floor to the clutch when she had to shift gears. "You're late," Robbie announced, clambering into the car in a flurry of elbows, knees, and noisy energy. "Wait till I tell Mom. What's the matter with you?" I ran over a cat," Marissa whispered, and suddenly she was sobbing aloud, tears running down her face. "This cat?" Robbie unwrapped the orange cat, stroking it gently, murmuring to it. "This guy's fine," he said. "Scared, but fine. You must not have hit it." "A different one," Marissa said. "A big one. He ran right under the wheel. But I think it scared him into running so he would die, and then it... You killed him?" Robbie's eyes darkened with the thought. "No wonder you were late." He patted the orange cat. "She's purring," he announced. "Did you see the other cat die?" he asked Marissa. "Did you see anything come out of him? A cloud, maybe?" "What do you mean?" Marissa asked sharply. "You don't have to yell," Robbie said. "We were just talking. In science, you know. The teacher said some scientists believe if you have the right equipment, you can measure death. I just wondered if you could see something, too. Do you think we could drive now? To practice? Coach is going to yell at me for being late." Marissa started the car and drove them from the lot. "How can you measure death?" she asked. "You mean that machine that keeps track of the heartbeat and beeps when they get a flat line?" Robbie shook his head impatiently. "Not hospital machines," he said, his tone saying dummy. "Like radiation measuring machines?" Marissa glanced at her brother. I remember reading something about that. I think I still have the magazine. She turned the corner, moved into the right-hand lane. Her insides were shuddering as she remembered it, the avid expression, swallowing. She pulled up in front of the Y, and Robbie hopped out of the car. Mom's going to pick me up. Thanks for the ride. He ran off, shouting, bye, as he headed for the door of the Y. Marissa waited until he was safely inside, then drove home. She rewrapped the cat in her jacket and carried it inside. It seemed calmer now than it had by the alley. Robbie had that effect on animals. But when she put the cat on the kitchen floor, it stiffened again, its eyes wide and frightened, ears quivering. Quickly, Marissa poured a saucer of milk and tore out some bologna slices. The cat gulped the food, then slunk from the kitchen, darting quick glances in all directions, hugging the walls as it headed down the hall, in search of a hiding place. It sniffed at doorways, finally stopping at the door to Robbie's bedroom. It looked up at Marissa. I guess he won't mind, Marissa said, opening the door. The cat scurried inside and under the bed. Marissa found 2 boxes. She lined one with old doll blankets, the other with a plastic garbage bag. She shoveled a few scoops of dirt into the plastic-lined box and set the improvised litter pan near Robbie's desk. The box bed she placed near Robbie's bed. Then she lugged a carton of papers, books, and magazines from the basement to her bedroom and sat down to read. She had a pile of books and magazines in front of her when she finally found the article. As she read, her stomach knotted, her lungs froze. A sense of unreality enfolded her as she digested the words. She threw the magazine from her, knocking over her stack, and left the house quickly, almost running as if she could run away from the information. Okay, she told herself, forcing herself to slow down and walk calmly up the street toward the park. Summarize it, translate, put it in English. Okay. Things that are alive send out currents, like electricity or radiation. With little things like turtles or mice there isn't much, say, a current or 2, but it's constant. Everything that's alive is always sending it out. There are machines that can measure it. The bigger the animal, the stronger the current. Like, say, 5 for rabbits, cats, small dogs, 7 for bigger animals like deer. Only it's not just size, it's intelligence and power too. The smarter the animal, the stronger the current. So people have the strongest current. At death, the body lets go of all the stored up electricity at once, and there's a flash, maybe 100 to 1,000 times stronger than the constant current. It's called a death flash. That's why Robbie wondered if I'd seen a cloud or something. He wondered if it was strong enough to see, but the article said it was invisible. They've learned to measure it, but it can't be seen. But I saw it, she thought, walking faster, walking home again. And that thing, it swallowed the flash. She shuddered. It wasn't like an animal killing for food, she thought. It didn't even kill the cat, but it was horrible. It was worse, even worse than if it had done the killing. I can't think of words bad enough to describe what it did. It wasn't torture. It wasn't murder. It was worse. It was worse because the flash of life was meant to escape. Even murderers don't swallow the life out of their victims. What I saw, what it did, was worse. Worse than the most horrible evil I could ever imagine. At home, with dinner on the table, her parents brightly discussed the events of their day, the lights shining, TV news in the background, coffee gurgling. Everything was so normal, Marissa could only laugh at herself. My imagination clicked into overtime, she thought, that's all. Still, she didn't taste the food she ate, and she felt cold all evening, a deep cold that no blanket could reach. At night in her bed, she shivered. She got all the extra blankets and the sleeping bags, and put them on her bed, and still she shivered. The cold was too deep. When she saw it again, it was much bigger. She never drove by the alley, going blocks out of her way to pick up Robbie, but she saw it anyway. She stopped at a red light, and it walked in front of her, full of glowing, recognizable shapes. She slipped down behind the wheel, but it was too late. She'd been staring at it, horrified by what she could see inside of it. Somehow, it felt the intensity of her gaze. Slowly, it turned, and returned her stare, smiling, its teeth gleaming dully in its avid, shadowed face. She couldn't move, not even to roll up her window or lock the doors. If it had wanted to, it could have climbed right in beside her. Did it whisper, soon? Or was it the wind? No, she thought. It didn't whisper. It hissed. It walked on, across the street, up the curb, across the sidewalk, fading into the crowd. Why aren't people screaming, Marissa wondered. Why aren't they running from it? Can't they see what it is? Don't they see what's inside of it? I can't be the only one who can see inside it. She jumped in shock when the car behind her honked. The light was green. She drove, somehow ending up at home where she sat in her car with her head resting on the steering wheel, telling herself she'd only imagined the shapes she'd seen inside its vagueness, only imagined the glowing energy of its victims imprisoned inside of it. The cat, she said aloud. I did not see a cat inside of it. I did not see birds or dogs or the snake or the raccoon. Most of all, I did not see a person. No, I did not see a person, and I did not see a hand. A human hand, twisted in frantic play. No. It's so gross, Robbie said. If it's gross, maybe you should wait until after dinner to mention it, their mother suggested. Jeff's dad, Robbie went on, looking awed at his own news. He works at his plant, see? Works the night shift. So last night he was working and suddenly all the lights went out. This crane slipped in the dark, and there was this pile of lumber all stacked up. The crane hit the lumber, and the whole stack fell on his dad and another guy. Jeff's dad is going to be okay, but the other guy died. He got mashed flat. I just read about that in the paper, their mother said, flipping back through the pages. I didn't know it was your friend's father. He's not really a friend, Robbie said, shrugging. He's just this kid at school. Marissa watched as he casually dropped a lump of meatloaf into his lap. For the cat, she thought. So far, Mom hasn't complained about it. Of course, the cat stays in Robbie's room. I don't think it has ever come out. Here's the article, their mother said. It says the man probably died of massive internal injuries. She read silently for a minute, then said, Listen, the paper says the other employees wish to extend their thanks to the anonymous passerby who stopped to give the man mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. They didn't get the passerby's name. How nice of him to stop and help. The rest of the conversation swirled around Marissa, but she didn't hear it. She put her hands on the table, needing a solid support to keep from fainting. The gray roared in her ears. Anonymous. Passerby. That wasn't someone who stopped to help, she thought. It was that thing. That it. It was waiting for the Deathflash. She tried to tell her family. The words formed, fumbled, fell back inside without being spoken. Even her thoughts fell back without completing themselves, landing inside as gray clumps. All of her thoughts were gray except one. It will want me. It wasn't very big or strong at first, she thought. It started small, with animals, but now... She thought back to when she'd seen it at the stoplight, when it stared right at her and hissed. It had never seen me before, she realized, and the realization was like a blanket of ice dropped over her. She shivered. It came when I was little, but I hid under the sheet. It didn't see me. In the alley, it couldn't see anything but the cat, but now it knows. It knows that I saw it, recognized what it was. Nobody else saw what it was, but I did. It knows. That thought was red, glowing, burning. It will want me. She went to bed, feeling better in the morning. She felt better every day that she did not see it. A few weeks later, Robbie came to her room at bedtime, bringing the cat, looking troubled. She's got something wrong with her, he said. She's getting fat. I think she's eating herself sick. Sometimes she cries when I pick her up, like her stomach hurts. Uh-oh, Marissa said, reaching over to feel the cat's stomach. She's going to have kittens, Robbie. Mom's not going to be too happy about that. Robbie's face brightened momentarily, but then he looked troubled again. And she never goes out of my room. I try to get her outside for some fresh air, but she just fluffs all up and looks terrified. Could she remember the other cat getting run over? Marissa looked at the orange cat purring under Robbie's petting. She remembers it, she thought. It's like she has bad dreams, too, he went on. She cries in her sleep sometimes. I'm really worried about her. Do you think cats can go crazy? I think she might be crazy, Marissa. She's okay as long as I'm there with her, but when I come home from school, she's always huddled up with her fur fluffed out like she's been standing like that all day. But why? Why would she be so scared? Even remembering the other cat getting run over wouldn't make her afraid of my room. It's more than just the other cat getting run over. Marissa took a deep breath and told him about the alley, the stoplight, her words coming reluctantly at first, then spilling out. I was terrified when I saw it, she said, and I'm a thinking, intelligent human being. A cat would be more than terrified. Robbie shrugged. Marissa thought he looked as if he half disbelieved her story, as if he thought she were telling ghost stories like she used to when he was little, to scare him into obeying and going to sleep when she had to babysit. I'm not making this up, she told her brother. It's pretty weird, Robbie said. I know, but look how your cat behaves. We saw the same thing, Robbie. It scared me, and I'm never scared. Except by things that wait for me in the dark, she admitted silently. I'm not a chicken, Robbie, but this scared me. I mean, really scared me. Robbie frowned, but he looked more believing. Well, what is it then? He shrugged. Is it a person? This time Marissa shrugged. I don't know, she said, but I think it's been after me since I was little. Remember all those stories I told you? They were real. They were about it. Marissa? Robbie took her hand, looking shy. At the stoplight? You said other people didn't run from it. Do you think they couldn't see it? I mean, they could see it, but do you think they couldn't see what it really was? I don't know what to think, Marissa admitted. I know what I saw. I know that no one else seems to see it for what it is. If they'd seen the shapes inside of it, they'd have screamed. They didn't scream. They didn't run. So they can't have seen it the same way I did. Marissa? Robbie looked troubled again. I've been thinking. Did you ever notice how some people are special sometimes? Some people seem to be born with great minds for science. Some people have just the right bodies to be famous athletes. You could have been born to be able to see things like that, evil things, and recognize them. If you could see it, if you're special somehow, and if it noticed, is it going to come and get you? What I mean is, I'll help you. If you're in danger, let me know. I'll help. So now here she was, hiding in bed, huddled beneath the covers, waiting. It wants me. The thought was red, glowing, burning. It wants me. Thinking back hadn't told her anything new, nothing that would help her fight it. Instead of freezing in bed, Marissa roasted. The knowledge that it had seen her cooked her, and sweating, she struggled up in bed, burning. She threw the covers aside, kicked them until they slumped in a pile next to the bed. Now she was only covered by the sheet. Sweating, trembling, trying to quiet the rustle of the sheet, she waited for it to come. The absolute, overwhelming terror of childhood bathed her, a terror so raw and immediate it could only be caused by it, waiting in the darkness, waiting for her, waiting as it had waited when she was a child. She was certain she would die of fear whether it came for her or not. She straightened her body beneath the sheet, listening, stretching her awareness. It was not in the room. It was near, though, she could tell. It had marked her. It knew she'd seen the shapes inside. It knew now, for sure, who she was. It had whispered, soon. Tonight, Marissa thought numbly. It will come tonight. I can't stalk it. It's too late for that. It's stalking me. Her thoughts began tumbling. It didn't kill the cat. I did. But it made the cat run under my car, so it would be dying and it could swallow the Deathflash. It made the lights go out, so the men couldn't see what they thought they were doing, so they hit the stack of lumber, and it could get another Deathflash. It doesn't exactly kill. It arranges death. It'll do something, scare me to death probably. Then it'll feed on me, and after that, after it's grown stronger, it'll go on after more. Marissa shook her head, interrupting the wild thoughts. Sweat ran down her eyes, stinging. The sheets were sodden with sweat. Her nightgown was drenched. It only makes death possible. It doesn't kill. I'm not lost. I won't let myself be lost. I'll do something. Only fear keeps me from doing something. I just won't be afraid. What are the rules? It can't get you in the light. It can't get you if you hold completely still. It can't get you if you are totally covered up, including your head. A sudden calm stole over her. Maybe I can beat it. She peeked out from under the sheet. Then she reached out and snapped on the lamp on her nightstand. She stepped across the pile of blankets and turned on her overhead light. It can't get you in the light. The rules, they had worked before. It didn't get me before. It's true that it was weaker then, but so was I. I'm not a child anymore. I am stronger now, too. The rules might still be enough. She surveyed her room, her eyes resting on her desk, her teddy bear, the posters, the wooden shelf that ran across the end of her room in front of the window. Her plants sat in pots on the shelf, their leaves trailing and tangling in a pleasing mass of greens. Near the orange pot, a flashlight. Marissa grabbed it. I can at least try to beat it. Maybe if I shine the light at it, maybe the wrong kind of light will hurt it. She stretched her awareness, sensing it. It was nearer. It was very near. It was inside the house. Marissa grabbed her damp sheet from her bed. She draped it over her head. Now I'm completely covered up, she thought, and it's light. I'm in the light. I have a light ready. I will hold completely still. Then it can't get me. She heard the door open, and she held her breath. Marissa? It was Robbie. There's really something wrong with this cat. Marissa yanked the sheet down and screamed, Robbie, get in here. Get under the covers. It's coming. She had time to register Robbie's face as it whitened, and his eyes grew huge. He dove under the sheet with the cat, and she yanked it up over both of their heads. Don't move, she hissed. Don't say a word. It came. She could feel it in the room, standing over them. Suddenly, the lights snapped off. And Marissa thought, of course, it made the lights go out in the factory. It makes its own darkness. The sheet rustled as they breathed, and suddenly Marissa realized that no one can hold completely still. People have to breathe, she thought. We're still covered up, she thought numbly, but we can't stay here forever. She waited. The cat seemed to be having convulsions of some kind, but Marissa couldn't worry about a cat, not when Robbie was huddled next to her and a shadowy, evil it lurked inches away, waiting. She weighed her options. Sooner or later we have to come out, she realized. We can't stay covered up forever. If we don't come down in the morning, Mom and Dad will come up to see what's wrong, and it'll get them. We don't have any more choices. I have to try the flashlight. Maybe a light will kill it if it's aimed right at it, right when it thinks it will get our flash. She pulled the sheet from her head, flipping on the flashlight at the same time. Nothing happened. There was no beam of light from the flash. Dully, she thought, dead batteries, dead us. She could barely see it, illuminated by the glowing shapes it held captive inside, but she could feel it, its mouth gaping and the horrid dread, the evil emanating from it. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it would burst right out of her throat. So this is what it feels like to die of fright, Marissa thought, her breath coming fast and shallow. I just wish Robbie weren't here too. Suddenly, there was a beam of light, a light that illuminated the it as its jaws opened wide and it swallowed avidly. For an instant, there was a gleam of triumph in its eyes, and then it screamed in agony. It writhed, retching and coughing. It fell to the floor and burned, lit from within by the softest, most beautiful glow Marissa had ever seen. Then it flashed, giving off its own death flash. The captive shapes flashed too, in rapid sequence like miniature fireworks as they escaped. Then it withered to ashes on the floor of her bedroom, ashes that glowed softly, then faded. What happened? Robbie whispered. I didn't see. He didn't see, Marissa thought. He didn't see any of it. Our cat, she said, looking down at the glowing animal and the tiny, shining forms that struggled to find their mother's soft belly. She had babies. She gave birth. Life. Marissa sighed happily, joyful tears stinging her eyes. Life has its own flash, and I guess it's stronger than evil, stronger than death. It tried to eat a life flash, Robbie, but life ate it instead. Mom's going to have to let us keep these kittens, all of them. We'll give them names like Sunshine and Sparkle and... She smiled, reaching out to turn on the light of her nightstand. This has been a Nightfall Audiobooks production of Deathflash by A. Bates. Hi, this is Chris with Nightfall Audiobooks, and thank you very much for joining me for my production of Deathflash by A. Bates. I haven't read anything by A. Bates before, so this was kind of fun. This reminded me a lot of Michael Crichton. If you're not familiar with Michael Crichton, shame on you because he wrote the first Jurassic Park novel and the Lost World Jurassic Park, The Terminal Man, and a bunch of other stuff. Michael Crichton is a science fiction legend. But what he would do is read science articles about real science and then create a story behind it. Like with Jurassic Park, he read about genetic cloning and he thought, what if this goes awry? What if a guy with lots of money decides to recreate dinosaurs? What would happen? This kind of feels like the same idea. This feels like A. Bates read an article about a death flash and he decided to write a horror story about it. And maybe the story is something, the it, can consume the death flash and use it as food. And it makes a lot of sense with the anonymous passerby that comes by and tries to save someone, but the person dies anyway. That's really creepy. We have all seen stories about people that have freak accidents and things, and an anonymous person tries to come by and save them, but they die anyway. Well, what if it's really a monster instead, trying to eat your death flash? That's terrifying. I don't know why the creature was stalking Marissa from the point when she was very, very small. Maybe her death flash would have been too small to consume, and as she got older, it was going to be bigger. So he was kind of like waiting her for to get to be just right, like a tomato. You know, don't want to eat a tomato that's too small. You want to eat a nice, big, juicy, ripe tomato. Maybe that was the idea behind the creature waiting for Marissa to get older. I don't know. This was a lot of fun, though. I recommend A. Bates, and I want to read more of her work. So what do I read next? I don't know. Send me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I'm also at home right here on YouTube, at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the join button to show your support. Any help is greatly appreciated. I really do mean that. I also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/nightfallaudiobooks. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me tell them tales of horror. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time.